now tuned in to Candidly Speaking.
Thanks for joining us and welcome to
Candidly Speaking. Well, today, guys, we're talking about a very serious and controversial topic. We're talking about racism and colorism. Now, what is racism and what is colorism? Racism, basically one definition for racism is the belief of superiority of one race over the other. Colorism is a subcategory under that, and it can also affect within the race. So you can also experience it. For example, light skin versus dark skin within a particular race. So colorism basically would be skin tone, shade, things of that nature. And it's something that when it affects us from the beginning of time.
I've had issues with colorism. I'm gonna be honest, like I've experienced colorism way more than I have just like blatant racism to my face. Growing up dark skinned girl, you know, I've always heard like, you're pretty for a dark skinned girl. Coming from like, you know, people that were a lighter shade than me. And I don't know if they thought it was meant to be a compliment or anything, but you know, it's not. It wasn't taken as a compliment. That implies that dark skin can't be pretty. And that's just it's not true. I've dealt with it from lighter complexion members of my own family. And just with some of the most ridiculous things, like a certain hairstyle, it'll look cute on you, but it'll look better on me because I'm light skinned. A hairstyle, really? Okay. But
the fact that they had to add in four darks.
Yeah.
Like that was like the unnecessary like part of the.
No, yeah, but and I've like even like dealing with you know, guys growing up when I was in like middle school and high school, never had a problem getting a boyfriend. But you know, some guys would be like, you know, oh, I don't do dark skinned girls, or you know, you pretty, but you know, so yeah, you're pretty for a dark skinned girl. It's supposed to, like, coming from them, like they're trying to make me feel better. Like it's supposed to be a compliment, and it's not because of what it implies.
Right.
Like,
So, for you, Dominic, how you think, or how did that affect you growing up, knowing that, okay, these are black people just like me, but they just probably a little couple shades lighter. How did that affect you in terms of emotional, or did it affect how you saw yourself as a, you know, as a person, as a female?
I'm gonna say, like, back then, yeah, I feel like it hurt, but with me being so young, it hurt, but I guess I didn't really understand why. It didn't take for me to really understand like the weight of what I was experiencing and just what I was experiencing, period. It didn't really resonate with me until I got older. So it definitely affected me. You know, even to this day, like colorism is an issue and a topic that will still bring me to tears. And someone in my past told me, like, you know, it's because I'm still not over it, which is legit, I'm sure. But, you know, it just makes me feel like, even now, like, it makes me feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. My hair isn't straight enough, you know, straight enough, or it's you know, it just makes
my dark skin.
Yeah, like, or even sometimes I have to check myself, like the color, certain colors that I want to wear. Like I will take a step back and be like, will that be pretty on my skin?
Really?
I do. I do. Like that's so because of, and then I have to like, you know, snap out of it and be like, girl, you can wear
wear what you want to wear.
But
Like,
the fact
you know,
you have to visit, like, even question.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even now, like, what I try to do to get over it, work through it, I just try to. I take Instagram for instance. I try to surround myself with different images. Less, European straight hair, images. Because that's another issue in itself, like representation, that thing matters. So just so it can be like present in my face and I don't know, just makes me feel
And I think that's the saddest thing about it all too is when you really look back on when the colorism even started. And for us to be in 2020 and it's still a thing. Like, the first time it was documented. It was documented more so in 1982. And Alice, she put like a name to it, I guess, and more of a definition. But like as we discussed before we even started recording, it probably was going on way before that. Way before, it being documented in 1982.
Well, it's like a nature versus nurture. So like you have it to where, so I could even go back like way back before that. So it's like nature-wise is what you experience. Like you touch an oven, it burns you. You understand from that. But then there's also like growing up into a culture where you're like oblivious. Just like the other day, I didn't know what Ash Wednesday was. Forgive me, but like I told a woman, like I didn't know what like the part on her forehead was, right? See?
I didn't want to
so I asked her, I told her, I was like, not to be rude, but I think you have marker on your forehead. And she like looked at me like, and like my coworker looked at me like I was crazy. I never like was like born into like even understanding my environment. So the fact that nature versus nurture, like you can be a part of a family that's teaching you like certain ethics, like telling you like this is bad, and you're gonna think it's bad for the like rest of your life, And then there's nature where you go into something and people think, oh, ratchet, right? But ratchet, like they automatically assume it's like African Americans being loud, but like ratchet is just being like just out there being crazy about something, So like an Asian person could be ratchet, like a white person could be ratchet. Like racism, like when someone acts like that, that's technically a form of ratchetness because like they're being crazy about like nothing,
Right.
So yeah, like when you said it's 1942, I think that's like when it started getting more of a notice. Or like psycho killers always been psycho killers. It's just that they finally came up with a term for it. So colorism or racism, like during that time, could have just been like categorized. Like it goes back to like even tribal days that we mentioned earlier. It's like a tribe wouldn't like mess with another tribe because like they're from there. Like you could have like one red mark on your head, and they could have like yellow, and they'd be like, all right, that's the enemy. I'm gonna kill him right there on the spot, So.
And like even just listening to you talk, I don't know why it just came to my mind, but it went all the way back biblical. Because how Aaron and his sister, they were mad. I don't know if you even know this, but Moses' wife was black, and she felt the way because of her being black. Like she was less than, and that's why remember it stopped. Yeah, like I think something I paraphrase. I don't remember fully, but just thinking about it, that's how far it goes back. Like racism and colorism, and this person is not good enough because of where we are and who we are, and they stand out too much. They come from but it's really like we're all human.
Well, even in other cultures, like I know, like in parts of certain Asian cultures, it's saying like if you're darker, like people that are lighter won't mess with you, as in like dating wise or relationship wise, because they feel like it comes into even royalty days. Like if you're darker, it means you work outside more, right? You're more of a hands-on, like hard worker outside.
Really, it has nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
It's just your melanin and your skin.
Right.
It doesn't do with the sun at all. But I never knew that either.
And it's so stupid. Like it's so stupid to me. It blows my mind.
Right.
Because colorism, you experience that within your own culture, community, race. And, just speaking as a black person, at the end of the day, white people or whoever else who has racist, feelings towards me, they're gonna not like us all. So for me,
right, I get what you're saying.
Like
for you not to like me from within.
Right, because you're a lighter. Like we going through the same thing.
But you know what is also the aspect of classism.
Yeah.
And it there's so many subcategories underneath racism
Yeah.
because the colorism is classism is a subcategory of colorism because I can say from my background, as I'm from Jamaica, it's always said that lighter skinned people are more successful. If you look, even in our political history, a lot of politicians and prominent business people were light skinned. So we became accustomed to it that we have to have light skin representation within politics. The darker skin probably wouldn't, advance to hold an office or anything like that because we, excuse me, we kind of became accustomed to this is the standard, this is what success looks like. Even with models, it's always said that the lighter skin, the makeup goes better and on these different things like that. So it always leads to, I guess, a self-esteem issue because even for me, I can say as being a black or Afro from a foreign country, it's a whole different take, and racism, which led to slavery, it starts in your mental. And again, we discussed in a previous topic that people control you first here. And if they can cause division among a race, they can infiltrate it where you are fighting against me, I'm fighting against you, when we actually going through the same thing. And if we realize that, what's the sense in me fighting you and you fighting me when these people fighting us?
Right, exactly.
And you think about the whole concept that, okay, here's a part of how the colorism was being contributed to in terms of slavery days, when we knew about the house slaves and would tend to be lighter skinned females, things of that nature. So what it would do to somebody like Dominique or you that were of a darker complexion, you would feel like, okay, I'm not worthy of a certain lifestyle. And then you start to hate that person, sometimes for no reason, because they've done nothing but just be a lighter skin tone than you. But that hate develops. Yeah, that hate develops because you see how better they're treated when y'all still the same race.
Exactly.
So sometimes we tend to fall into that trap, or I would say situation, where if we're not conscious of what's happening, we'll subject ourselves to,
Be the same exact way.
be the same exact way. When it's like, for me as a black male, I'll say, I get a lot of fight because of, number one, I'm male, I'm black, and I'm from a foreign country. And a lot of times when people hear my accent and they see this, they tend to automatically categorize you a certain way. I go through the store, see people following me, employees following me for no reason. I look back, see that person over there, then I'm at the another aisle, then I see them somewhere else and they've been acting like they're shopping or checking out the merchandise, but in your mind, you from experience that what they're doing.
Yeah, I just had that experience yesterday in Ulta.
Like they'll keep looking up every 5 seconds, okay, if they're just twiddling their thumbs the entire time, acting like they're cleaning something, but really they're just watching. Or
It was literally 3.
Or literally you'll walk in.
I was like, an Ulta.
You'd walk in and they'll be like, do you need help with anything?
Right.
Same line,
I'm fine.
And they ask you, are you sure? Have you found what you needed yet? Leave me alone.
I'm fine. Well, let me know. And then 10 minutes later, they come back around. Literally. So then you think, one of my experience with racism some years ago. I was on a Greyhound bus. We stopped at a station in Ohio, and I saw these officers. They came in. You know, we had like a layover for like an hour or whatever. So I saw these officers came in, and they were just, you know, walking around and what have you. So about 45 minutes later, my connecting bus came. Everybody loaded on. The bus was packed, no seats left. So everybody got on the bus, ready to, you know, leave. Then the officers boarded the bus, and they said, "We need everybody to show ID and all this stuff." So everybody took the ID, and I got mine. All they looked at it, gave it back to me, gave everybody their stuff back, and then they said, "You come here." Of everybody on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So they took me off the bus, and they made me go up under the bus and pull my luggage out. Pull all my luggage out. Open it up, and then they took my luggage and they turned it over. Two suitcases I had, plus my carry-on. So they like rummaged through it. Guy asked me again for my ID, and he looked at it and he gave it back to me. After they threw all my stuff up, he just walked away and said, "Have a nice day." And this time the bus is packed, so you know automatically what's gonna happen once they see that everybody's at the window looking to see what's going on. So I get back on the bus, load my stuff back in, put my stuff back on the bus and go back in. Everybody's like, "What happened? What did you do?" I was like, "I didn't do anything." You know, I was like, I don't know, you know, why they singled me out, but in my mind, I already knew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of the people that were asking me already knew, but they just wanted to see if it was anything else that would give them a legit reason to, you know, pull me off. And I'm like, and at that point, I didn't know whether to feel humiliated or just like, you get so used to it that it's like, sometimes it don't even affect you no more. It's like, yeah, you just accept it that like, yo, this is
what it is.
reality.
Yeah.
This is, I can't escape it because I can never change this.
At all.
I can probably cut this, but then my accent is still a part of who I am.
And that's the part I feel like sucks more than anything, is because we're born this way. Like, it's nothing that we really asked for. Like, it's nothing that no one can say, "Okay, God, this is what I want for myself. When I get on earth, I need to be this color, this tone." So it's almost like you're like you just said, I can't change my skin tone.
Yeah,
I can't change, you know. And of course, like, you know, there's certain things out there as far as products, of course, but why should we even have to do that? Like, you know what I'm saying? As far as skin bleaching and, you know, like, I know that's something even in Jamaica I read, like, it was serious. Like,
it still is for years.
The extent they go to bleach their skin, almost to the point where it's like you're putting yourself in danger, all because of that they really believe in their minds that I'm nothing if I'm not light skinned. Like, I'm not worth anything if I don't have a lighter skin. Even Spice, the rapper, the Jamaican, you know how she tried to come out and, you know, make it known about colorism and how serious it is. Why do you guys think it even started? Why do you guys think it even?
Well,
became a thing.
I thought it was like someone has a material, like something materialistic, or something like they have like some type of resource the other person wants. That's probably how it started. Because like,
say that again.
Like, as in like, okay, so remember how we brought it back to the tribe days? Like, say Middle East, that they have oil over there, but you have like two different sides fighting, or so. Like, maybe they want something that one person has in one area, and so they start hating them based on like, okay, what can we hate on them about in order to receive that? Like, have some type of justifying way. You know what I mean? And so like, you're in a train like, oh, these people did something, or they could have been. Because if you keep like going back, it's somehow in their ancestry, like someone must have messed up on one side that it just spread out like a disease, you know.
Yeah, I believe though, even for here in America, as far as, because I do believe that it didn't just start here in America, but as far as like our American culture and beliefs, I believe it started to almost cause like a division, like say like the higher bar, you know, if you like about it originating like, you know, from, you know, slave owners and, you know, Because they were the ones who ultimately taught us and, showed us the way, basically, once we came over, So I believe that in their minds, they feel as though if we can just get them to hate each other, we don't have to worry about it. They're going to kill each other.
Exactly.
So we could make sure we let them know that if you're light, you're good. If you're dark, you're not. And keep that division over there. While we're over here doing what we need to do, keep them divided.
Yeah.
Because, and I did want to ask you too, Jeremy, have you ever experienced colorism yourself?
I was about to go into that,
yeah.
Because I feel like
sometimes we
right
think
now
it's
the
just like a
audience
black
listen,
thing and it's
that's
not.
what I'm saying, like the audience probably looking at which I was gonna mention is like we don't want to make it seem like we're only focusing on African Americans.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Also even like on white Americans or Asian Americans, whatever race you are, like my what was just an assumption of a particular culture. Placing an individual, not by race, but into a social barriers or like boundaries based on like a statistic. So like this is like kind of like ironic, but like yes, I'm good at math. And most people know Asians are good at math. So like
I'm sorry, I was supposed to I'm so sorry. Okay, back.
Okay, so like kind of breaking out statistics wise, a statistic like everybody knows the common rule in statistics is that it's just a pool. Like if I have all the pens in the world, I can't do a statistic. Like they only look at like a few pens, right? So like if we're thinking about race, people only think about like just what's around them and then try to pull a substance from there, right? So like they try to evaluate the entire culture based on just based on this scope that they're looking at, but it doesn't, and that's why I tried to tell like James about too. It's like you can't just say like because you experience it as the nature versus nurture. You can't just say because the nature around you is one way that outside that nature is going to be the same way. Yes, it's an experience, but don't categorize it.
Right.
It's just like you have corrupted people. You don't have corrupted people, right? So it's like it's not like saying all black people are ratchet or all Asians know math. I know some Asians that just suck at math in general, So again, it comes down to that statistic part. So for me, like again, I grew up in a both predominantly black neighborhood, like African Americans, right? So like I get all the type of like Asian names, like it's Bruce Lee, it's Jet Li, it's Jackie Chan,
it's not funny. It's not funny.
It's definitely funny, but like I literally got the nickname.
You did.
I literally got the nickname Chim Chim, and I was like,
oh my goodness,
I'm gonna accept it. All of them, right?
You accepted it?
Yes. Like, what am I gonna do?
I'll take it.
Like, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Right.
So like okay, so during that time, like this is going to the basketball situation. For the first 3 weeks of high school, I was a scrub on the like they tell you that PE, like who are you gonna play with? Nobody wants to pick you up. And my favorite like sport was basketball, football, right? Nobody want to pick me up. I'm like, they have scrubs playing on this just because they're African Americans. Because they think that they can ball, but these dudes are like fumbling the ball. I'm like, he can't even dribble with
the ball. Why should I do it?
Exactly, but I couldn't. Right. Even the Asians on the other side wouldn't pick me up. I'm like, okay. So the actual ballers won't pick me up, and the scrub Asians won't pick me up. I might as well just sit here, right? Or play some badminton or something. Like, do something, right? So I told one of my friends, like Greg, I was like, hey, like, he was like, how's high school going? And I'm like, man, nobody wants to pick me up. So he was like, all right, I'll talk to somebody. And as soon as he talked to somebody, he was like, all right, I'll pick him up. But then Greg turned around and was like, don't mess this up. This is your one. I'm like, damn, I got all this pressure because I'm like, just because I'm Asian, you don't think I could ball.
Right.
Literally the first day I crossed one of the best dudes' ankles out there and then like backed up, shot a 3 on him, everybody looked at me. And you know what, still like even though I was good and you could relate like whatever moves I am to like, alright, I'm going out of like my way of Curry or LeBron, most likely for LeBron, But it's the fact that even though I'm doing all these moves, right? Yeah. You know what player they call me? Who do you think? Yao Ming. Right now. A tall Asian dude, right? I'm like, if you call me the biggest scrub in like basketball, like he's just tall for it. Like,
right,
because he got dunked on by the shortest player, right? So it's just like, even though I'm doing all these good moves and playing against like other people, you're still gonna call me the Asian dude on the court. Yeah. Even though I don't play anything like him, right?
Yeah. And it goes back. That shows us too how a lot of things and how we think, how we react. It's like a learned behavior.
Exactly.
Like it's a learned behavior for even like for Dominique. Can you imagine? Like I literally just had a conversation with my daughter this morning. It was about my hair, but I don't know where she learned behavior. And I told her like you never see me acting that way, but she has this thing where it's hard for her to give a compliment. Like if she likes something about another girl, it's hard for her to say it. So she'll like almost like, you know, be condescending in a way with saying, okay, like she was like, you wanted to get that color? But she had a face too, even when she was saying, my daughter has a lot of personality. She like, you want to get that color? And I'm like, yes. And what she had to look like, and like, I'm like, I was gonna be late almost just to get here because I had to let her know, like, had a whole conversation. Don't be that girl. Like, don't be that girl to the point where, because there's something in you where if you're unable to compliment someone else, and like, I feel like, where did she get this from? I'm not like this. But then it goes back to, who else is she around? What is
the nature?
Right. Who else at school does she hear? Like, and I like even how she was. My husband, he's darker and my children know like when my complexion are even a little lighter, and they will like point out his color like it's a thing. Like, who told y'all? Like, whoever put color into a thing for y'all? It's like, you want us because the baby. I was like, I want my baby to be like darker like his dad. Like, you know, just have a darker baby. I really want chocolate. And chocolate is chocolate. Don't say darker. Oh, I thought I said it wrong. So I'm like, I really. And then he was like, they're like, you want him to like, even how they say, you want the baby to be black like daddy. And like they were saying in a way, like it's something bad. I'm like, wait, whoa, why are y'all saying this like this? Like, what's wrong? And I was like, you just want the baby to be black. And I'm like, you're black. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, like you're black. No, I'm like, they started, no, I'm mocha and I'm brown. I'm like, what? Like, what?
I saw a comedian, he passed away now, but he was making a joke about Hispanics, and he was like, yeah, you black. Then he said to the Hispanic, you black too. And he said, the Hispanic guy said, but you black like this. So it's like, they classify, I think for us, it's the culture and what we surround ourselves with, like what we see, music that we listen to. Like again, I'm gonna touch back again on the bleaching situation in Jamaica. Part of what really created the epidemic is the dance hall culture. Like y'all know about Buju Banton. He's a big time dance hall reggae artist. One of his very first songs was a song called Browning. He said he loved his car, he loved his bike, he loved his money and thing, but most of all, he loved his browning. So that song was a major hit in Jamaica. And what that caused was women that look like you, Dominic, they were like, yo, he loves this, so I want to be that. So now my color, so a browning chick would be like a light skinned chick.
Oh, I like brown because I'm like,
all right. So browning was for the lighter skinned girls.
Okay.
So girls that I'm in the skin that I'm in and I'm confident. Right. A lot of people lack that confidence because of what they hear around them and what they see. So a lot of times when it goes back to racism and colorism, it's what's in their face. So when you see lighter skinned people being promoted to that better job, or they, even back to slavery, they're the ones in the house with the AC or fan, whatever they had back in those days. They keep them cool. They were able to sit down, and then you go outside.
Able to learn how to read.
Yeah, able to learn to read and talk to the kids, the kids of the white people, right. And then you out there in the sun. You gotta be,
and that right there alone goes back how it can build attention. So imagine generation to generation where those people out in the field probably felt the way it's in the lighter skin, and so you don't know what you're saying in your mind. So then you're now instilling that feeling into your child. Like what I'm saying. A lot of times you don't, and that's why I'm very, 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 very cautious of how I raise my children. Because I don't know why I always think about it, like I always tell Dominique, like. My mom did a good job of where she put us. Like, we were always diverse. Like, it was never like up until like I was like in high school where it was predominantly black, I was always like in a diverse school. So it was race was never an issue. Like in my family, we have so many different skin tones. We have so many different, how we look. And so it's like, it was never a thing, but it's like, it's how we teach and what we say. And, like I said, for my daughter to say certain things, like, I know I don't say this to you, but she goes to school around so many other people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like now she's saying color or, you know, size and this is what's ugly and hair being short or longer. And it's like, I never said these things to you, so why are you making it a thing? And it's like, it's sad because it's like how far back it goes, you almost try to figure out like, how can we stop it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so embedded almost. It's so deeply embedded.
You have to just first, for yourself, you have to have some type of awakening, re-educate yourself, you know, and, you know, just unlearn certain vocabulary words, unlearn certain type of thinking. You have to start with yourself, and then we have to teach our children better, because that's the only way to eliminate this thing.
Yeah.
I know for me growing up, like, we were raised, like, me, my mom, my dad, my brother, we're all dark skinned. And but my dad, for one, he's so cultured from being in the army, traveling, seeing different countries at a young age. You know, racism for him and what my parents taught us, they made us aware, but it wasn't an issue. Like, Jeremy grew up in my neighborhood. You know, everybody that knows us, my brother and Jeremy are best friends. Growing up, they refer to each other as cousins just to mess with people, but that's how close they are. So that's the type of environment that we were raised in. We didn't see color, but, you know, we didn't see color. I wasn't judging, you know, Asians. I wasn't judging white people. Yeah. You know, I knew that there was good and bad in all of us.
Right, exactly.
You know, I grew up with little white girls because the elementary school that I went to at the time, going, you know, in 1990, I'm dating myself, but, you know, entering into kindergarten, like, I was one of like 2 or 3 black kids in the classroom. So I grew up with little white girls and became really good friends with them and was treated very well, you know? And also just, you know, getting older and when schools were a little bit more diverse, you know, going to my middle school and high school and stuff, that's when I started, you know, coming in contact with like, oh, you know what, there's a thing called colorism and this is what it is, you know? Yeah. So you have to teach your kids. And my daughter, she's lighter than me. But I still see where she has picked up some things that, you know, I notice and I remember about myself. Because when she was like 3 or 4, my daughter has 4C hair. Okay, it's very kinky, you know, it's very, very coily, like her hair, it's beautiful. But at 4 years old, she came to me and she was like, Mommy, I want my hair like Ari. Ari is my niece, and she's half Puerto Rican. So, you know, she's way lighter skin, and she has, you know, curly hair, long hair. And I didn't understand because she's 4. Like, what does she know about that? And she was like, I want my hair to be, at the time she was saying, I want it to be like bigger. She said bigger, but she was meaning I want it longer, like Ari's. Right. And I was like, whoa, no, what we are not going to do, we're not going to let this repeat. You know, we're not going to let this cycle continue. So I had to, you know, educate her like, hey, there's nothing wrong with your hair. There's nothing wrong with your skin tone. And there is nothing wrong with Ari's, and there's nothing wrong with her hair. You two are both beautiful. Right. You know, so you have to teach your kids, and I feel like that's where it's going to start if we want to see any type of improvement and change. And a lot of it, you know, also representation. You know, when you think about it and when you think about how we learn it, like you said, as for you in your house, you don't talk about things like that. You don't, that's not the terms you don't use. You don't use black to describe a dark skinned person. So like when you said, where's she picking it up from? She picking it up from school. She picking it up from TV.
Yeah.
When you think about it, when you think about cartoons or movies or anything, good versus evil, what color is associated with good?
White.
What color is associated with right?
Everything
Dark, yeah.
So all of that, all of
So
that,
it's like we have to make sure that you're saying we have to make sure, like, because of all of the other places they're getting it from.
Yeah.
We have to be sure to, because, and I think, you're right, because I have to learn that, because like I said, I was like, and I'm like, what kind of kid was I for me to miss this? Like, for some reason, I never experienced it. I never even seen it, witnessed it. I would hear, like you said, I have darker skinned friends, but for me, I always thought like the darker was so beautiful. I was like, oh my God, they are so beautiful. But like to hear someone else, like I have a sister-in-law, she's darker, and she was like, and she's more like built, kind of like, we call it solid. She's more solid, like she'll run you over, like easy. But she experienced by her being darker and built in that way at a young age. They would call her a giant, like a black giant, or tell her like call her Godzilla or something like that. So it's like I would hear these things, but I never experienced it. But then it also goes back to like the conversation I had to have with my daughter, like you're saying, like being, even though I don't talk about it, still make sure I address it. You know what I'm saying? Because though I never experienced it, I say it, my daughter is now experiencing it. She's talking and speaking in a way. So that is the way that we can.
Yeah, my mom didn't. My mom, growing up, back in the 70s and stuff, she didn't even experience it. She didn't even really realize it was a thing, or that it was even a thing that I was going through, until I got older and I would talk to her. Like, she was so surprised. She was like, she never went through that. And like I said, like,
but my mom, she's lighter. My mom's lighter, and she went through it. And she experienced bad too. She was like, you can see the good, like, because, they used to feel like lighter skinned girls are prettier, so more boys would be attracted to her. But from the darker skinned girls, she would be treated away. And she never felt the way. Like, so she wasn't a light skinned girl that didn't like, but the darker skinned girls who were probably bullied by someone lighter, she got treated away because of that, how, they were done. So she was like, whoa, I'm being bullied for hurt people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It comes with like the negative and positive reinforcement behind things, like when it comes to the nurturing side. So there was like a psychology video where it had like kids with brown hair, and these are like all white kids, right? So they did an experiment where it was an elementary school, and you had the brown hair, brown eyes, and then the blonde hair, blue eyes. So the way they kept the class was that they said one day, or for 1 week or so, they didn't let any of the brown eyes kids play on the playground when it was recess time. They could only sit down like somewhere, right?
I feel like I heard something.
Right? It was an old video, and like it was back in like the 70s or so. I can't remember, but it was like the kids, they started like conditioning them. It was all about conditioning, right? To the point where like kids that weren't getting to play, they were like, the kids with the blonde hair, blue eyes started making fun of the kids with the brown hairs, like, you guys don't get to play. They're getting teased a little bit, to the point where they're like kind of crying, and they're like, I don't want to have brown hair or brown eyes anymore, Just it was all about teaching them like how racism is a real thing, even amongst the same culture, And so like they switched it around just so the blue eyes, blonde hair people could feel how they felt, And they did the same timing and everything like that. And at the end, they asked them about it. They're like, so how do you feel about that, right? And they're like, I didn't like the fact that like at one point, like I had to sit out and I had to watch this, but then they had the other people be able to see it from their side too, who are like, we should just be able, we're kids, we should be able to play. And they looked at it as a whole now, as one, rather than like separated. But the thing is with cultures from all the way back then up until now, is that there's always been a division, like you were bringing up before, right? So like one of the best examples I have is like, there's a story, I don't know if you guys know, back in the day, there was like, the school, Jefferson Davis, right?
JD?
Yeah, there used to be a place, or there used to be a day, specific day of the year.
Yes.
So you already know.
I remember.
The day was called Cracker Day.
What?
Yeah.
Cracker Day.
Yeah.
Wait.
No, listen, it's called Cracker Day, right?
No, is the school established this?
No.
No.
It was
Okay,
like,
what?
but it's amongst the
But it
students
got so big,
that it became a thing.
it
Like
became a thing.
exactly at different schools.
Is that a middle school?
Yeah. So this is what happened, right? This is my experience from it. So like even though like, so I grew up around the homies, right?
Mhm.
So like when I went to school one day,
Around
the homies.
the homies.
Yeah. So like one day I go to school, and then it was like literally like hell on earth at one point. Because when everybody got out, you know, when you start exchange classes, that's when everybody left the classrooms, right? That's when like it was almost like the nature versus nurture, like what you felt like the negative reinforcement of that predominantly African American or any African American, I want to say, because like they even looked at Asians, Hispanics, but mainly to terrorize the white kids for like the oppression that they've gone through, right? So it was like this is what happened to us this many times. We're gonna treat one day where we're gonna look every white dude's ass.
This is at Jeff Davis.
Jeff
What
Davis.
year?
This is back like when I was middle school, so it was probably like early 2000, like 2000. No,
See,
it was
I
before
also-
that. Yeah,
It's
But
still
see,
going on.
early 2000. Yeah.
Right, so it was still going on then, but I went to JD, you know, in the 90s,
Yeah.
in the late 90s. So I remember hearing about it. I remember it being referenced. And I remember some of my white friends saying that they're just not going to go to school tomorrow because it's happening.
Exactly, and the funny thing was, like the funniest thing was, like in the beginning when I first got into 6th grade, you know, just transferring in from elementary school, they were like, "Are you ready? Because you know, like this year you're gonna experience Cracker Day." And I was like, "I don't believe that
Who
stuff."
was that?
Who told you that?
Like James and like Paul and them, because they were a grade above me, you know. And I was like,
Oh yeah,
I was like, that ain't my thing.
It's
Like
not.
I don't believe it. Y'all are just trying to scare me. Right. This is my
Right.
first time.
I would think the same way.
But the thing is, like, that day when it came, I went to school. I was like, I don't care. Like, I hang out with everybody here. Like, I'm cool with everybody, you know. And so this is what saved me because I'm cool with everybody, right? So like when 3 black dudes ran up on me, I like stepped back. I was like, what's good? Like, you know. But then like one of their homies came. I was like, oh no, he cool. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get beat up on Cracker Day, you know. Ran over to one of the homies I knew and dumped him into the garbage can.
Really?
And he was Asian too. Like that's the thing. Like it didn't care. Like if you weren't black that day, or if you weren't
Right.
African American.
Right.
Sorry if I keep saying about them, but you got put into a trash can. You got hit.
So like, was it like amongst the students?
Amongst
Yeah,
the
it was
students.
just
So that was a real tradition.
So,
for
yeah,
them.
it was a
Never
tradition.
to find out.
Yeah.
And
And it was during
wow.
the time when like all the kids, like you hear the bell, people were like sweating, like you know, like sweating. They look at the clock, like, oh man, we got to get out the classroom. Like some kids would just stay in the doors, like you could see them like looking through the window, like I'm not leaving. Like
oh my
the teacher's
goodness,
right here.
That is so crazy.
But like you had people getting pushed down like stairs. You had people like getting like water thrown in their head because it was 2 balconies worth. People getting hit, getting jumped. Like you wouldn't go. Bathrooms were like you don't want to go to the bathroom.
Definitely.
But you better hold your bathroom until you go home.
Yeah.
Technically, you know.
Wow.
Because if they catch you slipping, like they got you, right?
Wow.
So it's like the fact that I had to experience that, like obviously nothing happened to me, but to see the friends, you know, like on both sides, and I'm cool with like the whites, the Asians, the African Americans, like see all of them just like going like one big brawl, you know, battle royale. I'm just like, man, like this is kind of wrong, you know. Well, not even kind of wrong.
For
It is
nothing.
wrong. For nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
like,
that again goes back to show that behavior. Like somebody had, and I even like my husband, he brings it up a lot. Like we'll watch a lot of I love documentaries, and like it literally does something to him. Like he gets angry, like something he can't watch because I guess he feels it so much, especially being a black man. Like he feels it so much. But then you can only imagine. Like think about a kid, or if you have a parent that feels the way that my husband feels, but expresses it differently.
Right.
Like he sometimes has to get up and walk away. Like I can't take no more because I feel my anger just building,
Right.
and then knowing I experience certain things, let me just walk away because I feel away right now. Like I'm gonna want to go out and hit everyone. Like you said, cracker day. So everybody's gonna get this cracker day right now. Lord, I'm sorry, y'all. I ain't trying to come on a cracker, but I'm going crazy with it. But yeah, I feel like sometimes even with that, that's the mentality that we're. Because for you to be in middle school and like you're like, yeah, like everybody gonna get it. So it's almost like we have to be very like the how to prevent it as parents.
But it's not even that. It's like okay, so think about a scale, right? And think about nature versus nurture, and you know what goes in nature, right? Internet.
Mhm.
So that
Right.
if you're nurturing someone at home, you have just so much information you could say to somebody. But when,
So much
when everybody has a phone
yeah.
and they're scrolling through, even at home, it's starting to tilt. Like it's like
Mhm.
if this was nature, it's starting to like outweigh like how much like you could just teach somebody. It's hard because even though if you're saying certain things, yes, it comes from the morals and ethics, and like it just comes down to sheer willpower of the individual. You know what I mean? That like could outweigh that situation of nature, but at the end of the day, like with the internet showing constant, like say, like remember how they had made Black Lives Matter, how they made Blue Lives Matters, as in like the cops, because again, everybody thought like if you're a white cop, they were just like at one point in time, it was almost at like if you were an African American driving, or if you were a white cop pulling over African American, you had almost like the equal amount of time, like in people's heads, you have like equal amounts of like risk of getting shot.
Right.
Because like one, like a white guy's pulling me over, I gotta like I don't want to get shot.
It's
Like
fear on both
there's
sides.
already fear, you know. But then like as a white cop pulling over
Oh
somebody,
my gosh, I put over a black person.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like if I pull this person over, they're gonna think some type of way, and I'm automatically judged as racist. You know what I mean?
Right,
So like
exactly.
looking at it from both
So
sides.
they're getting scared just because they probably don't even feel away, but
Exactly.
they probably feel away, so I'm gonna feel away, so we all feeling away.
Exactly. So like when you're watching like videos of like stuff, and even on Netflix too. So it's like when you're watching videos of this stuff, it's like, dang, I'm like looking at it, and news does this all the time. Because I was in communications, and the way that they set the structure up of how like the news want to like post the story, they say describe the person the way you describe it, white male or white female or black male, or you know what I mean? Like they'll say like the first part, and it's like you don't even need to say that, but because it's implanting it into your brain subliminally, like you're gonna think something negative about
like even sometimes like on the news, I catch myself where I can say it and admit to it, like we were like they was white, like that's your first question, were they black? Like you don't really say, well, you know, who did it or who were they? Your first thing is like, what color were they? And it's almost like you don't even want them to be your race, like yes.
And they exaggerate on certain races.
Right, exactly. So it's like you said, you don't realize it, but it's being fed to you. So you are almost like, well, what color were they? They had to be white, right? That was a black person.
That's a characteristic.
Right,
of
you're
this.
right.
But you know, you said something earlier about what can be done, and I think number one is awareness. We develop certain practices that we don't even notice that we do, but we're so accepting of it that we just do it. It's the new normal. Just like females call each other bees and it's acceptable. We use the term nigga like it's not a derogatory
like it's
term.
our name.
Like that's my nigga, that's my, and at the end of the day, if you were to go back some years, 50, 60 years, or just, you know, that word took a different type of effect. If a lot of those people, if we were in that era, using that among ourselves, think about the effect, think about all the people that put their lives on the line, and for us to achieve certain freedoms, or you know, that we know, you know, can afford because of what these people had to endure. And these were terms that were used to make them feel less than. But now we use it like, yo, that's my nigga. That's a word to us now. And Nas had an interesting take on it. He said, and not quoting him word for word, but he took the term and tried to change the meaning of it, like tried to make it a positive versus a negative. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself that you don't hear white people going around calling, yo, that's my cracker, man. You don't hear them glorifying that, because that takes a certain meaning. They take a serious offense to it. And this is what kind of gets me with the double standard of it. We can say, yo, what's up, nigga? This, that, the other. But let's say if German says it, or a white person says it, then we're like, yo, we get all offensive. But then it's like, you're using, it's cool if we use it, but it's like, okay, so do you know what you're actually doing to your race? And then you hear kids picking these things up. You know, you hear kids saying, yeah, this nigga, this person, and then in another setting they can say, oh, that's my nigga, man. So you use it for good or bad depending on how you feel.
Right.
But how did the word originate? What was it meant to do? What effect was it meant to cause? And a nigga, basically the definition of a nigga is pretty much like a bum. Person that's worthless. So at the end of the day, when you say, that's my nigga, you are further, adding to the stereotype out there. And when people see us, they'll say, oh yeah, that's all y'all know. Y'all don't, like even, like for example, Dominique, the way how Dominique speaks, a lot of people say, oh, you talk white.
Exactly.
You talk white.
Oh, baby.
And then it's like, okay, so that means that black people aren't intelligent, black people can't speak properly.
Right. And I think that was something that I experienced, like, and that's why I embrace, like, even, and I'm trying to get better with it because I am a nigga user. Like, I use it all the time. And I said I use niggas, but I use their word.
I am too.
But the thing is, like, for me and how I look at it was, I believe that even like hearing like the different perspectives, I heard like people say like come from Nas' point of view. I look at it like, I don't think, because I think they take it so serious with it, like we have something that we own. Y'all own enough stuff, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is our word. So let us use our word, and we're now taking it, and we're no longer putting the weight on it of all this stuff. And like me and Dominique, we had a discussion too. We are very mindful of when we're around our elders because we know that it hits different. When we say it. Yeah, so the younger generation, we say it in a way, a term of endearment. But even when the older person or our elders hear certain words, it's like, y'all don't know what we had to go through. So I am mindful when I'm in certain settings or around certain people because I don't want to offend, and I do understand what came with it. But then at the same time, I do believe a part of our culture too feels like I'm taking this word and no, you can't touch that word. Can we have something that's ours? Can we have something that belongs to us? I can't say I feel that way because I don't care. It's just a word that I use. But also with Dominique, and that's why I'm learning to embrace who I am fully. How you speak. I heard it from my own family. I never experienced colorism, but my mom always raised us like to use our words, make sure you pronunciate, and you are coming off. And after a while, I'm always say to this day, like, I don't know where you come from because you have this wretched side that I never. Like, I don't know. I didn't raise it this way. But then I embrace it too because this is me. And like Dom, like that's her. Like, why does it have to be my cousins to tell me like, oh y'all used to be the white family, like y'all so white, y'all so green, and it's like, no, we're not. But at the same time, even with me, I had to learn like, Mom, I know how to say that, I know how to articulate my words, but I just don't. Like,
I heard that all the time growing up. First of all, I would get experience colorism, so you're pretty for a dark skinned girl, and then you talk white. You're so white because of the things I like, the shows I like.
Oh my goodness.
My style. I was like, well, dang.
I even heard like black people don't watch documentaries.
What? Like, who said that? Who said that? So my thing was, when I think about how I deal with the experiences I had from childhood, and there's no wonder why I felt I wasn't good enough.
Where do I fit in here?
You talk so white. There was this one girl. She did not like me for nothing in the world. And she literally told me she didn't like me because I act white. Because I talk white. And her dad was white.
What?
Her dad is white. So it's like, I'm damned if I do.
Right. And that's why now I just embrace it. And I think that's what we all have to be too, even with the colorism thing. This is me. This is me. Like, I have red hair today, but I will rock my fro tomorrow like nobody's business. Don't play with me. But it's like, everybody doesn't think that way too. I realize that because sometimes, like Dom says, it sucks. Like, I was literally about to cry just hearing her say that. Like, I have to take a step back when I put on a certain color. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's a mental thing. Like, And for somebody to be in that space to where I can't, it just sounds like a purple shirt. I shouldn't have to second guess what does this. Like even me doing makeup, I'll hear like certain women as I'm doing their makeup, they feel like that color won't fit me, or that doesn't go with my skin tone. Even I felt it for a long time. Mom had to tell me like, cause I could tell my mom, not realizing now that I think about it, I was colorism. Like, cause she can wear so many different lipsticks and colors. In my head, I felt like I can't. I'm too dark to wear certain colors. Right. And she was like, why do you say that? She's like, you can't. Like she taught me. She used to buy me like different color lipstick. Like, try it. Just try it. But in your head, you hear so much on the internet, and like you said, you hear, okay, for darker skin, don't wear nudes in this color. So even when I'm doing someone's makeup now, like I hear more so from the darker women that doesn't go. They don't even want to stick with like that certain color they know for a fact they've been using for 30 years versus. No, you can't wear this. Like, no, that's not gonna look right. I can't wear pinks and nudes and all those colors. Just because I'm black, because I'm too dark. It only goes with red women. Only red women can wear certain things. Like even that's why I have the color in my hair. I was like, I'm going to get out of thinking that I can't do certain things because it just won't go.
But you know what, Cree? Going back to some of what you said earlier, in terms of you accepting that yes, I can step out of my box. I can embrace different things and just be free to wear what I like and, accept me looking good in whatever I It goes according to how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Now, even with the term, the nigger term, you stated that it's something that we try to own, but I look at it like this. People can say, okay, it's a negative undertone. Why would we want to own that? You get what I'm saying? And then it goes back to the term, the thinking that Black people can never do this, they can never be that, they can never do this. Because when I'm a public figure that's surrounded by so many different people, and because of the fact that of who I am, I have different type of people that embrace
different kind of influence.
Even racists have to deal with that. They don't come out and say that they are.
Right.
But
yeah.
they are, because when you speak to them and you hear them say certain things, and sometimes they're not racist consciously, but they're racist subconsciously because of their dad maybe, their mom maybe. So they'll say certain things that not realizing that, this is a racist comment that I'm gonna make. But because of the fact that this is what I know, I don't see it as offensive. I grew up in a household that this is said often, but I never took it to say, well, how does that affect this person? Now here's a concept to take into consideration. We all say that we'd like to make an impact. We like to make a change in how our children view themselves, or how females, view themselves in terms of body and skin tone and all of these different things. But in order for us to create change, we have to change within ourselves, change the things that we accept. So even with the term nigger, at the end of the day, is everybody's so accepting of it now that we shouldn't be trying to own that.
Right.
We shouldn't be trying to own that, because all other races, any derogatory term that affects their culture, they stay away from it. They don't mess with it.
Can I ask you something? Do you think that sometimes we can stay stuck in a place versus just saying because sometimes I feel as though, and I love my Black people, but sometimes we can keep staying on slavery, we can keep staying on racism. And it's simply I don't care. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it is that way, because I do realize, as I get older, it wasn't really that long ago. My mom talks to me, mom always says, Christian, you realize that the civil rights movement really wasn't that long ago. It wasn't so far off, slavery, it's so far away from us. But the civil rights movement and the racism that was so strong, and the attacks on us were really right up the street from us. And sometimes, like, this is just my opinion, like, and it may be like the devil's advocate, but sometimes it's like, I don't care, like, and I care, don't get me wrong, I care. People who know me, I care 100% about the oppression, you know, the certain things that that's been put on our head simply because of our race. Sometimes I feel like sometimes, give me what's due to me, and no. I want to do it like the white people do it, and you don't see the white person doing it that way, you don't see the Puerto Ricans doing it. It's almost like, it doesn't matter who's doing what way. This is crucial. I mean, like I said, somebody told me that black people watch documentaries. Like, but it's like, I'm told, don't put me in a, like I said, don't put me in a box. Don't box me up. And and it's not to belittle. And you know, I always like, who I was like having like on one shoulder when I'm talking this talk, like Christian talk, is like Maya Angelou, because she makes very valid points of where she came from. So to hear us speak away, that's what made me respect my elders, because she has very valid points. But it's almost like I don't want to keep carrying that book bag with the slavery and the oppression, the racism, the colorism. I mean, it's there. It's very much so there, but I'm not going to keep, you know, how you ever seen how they do like black power, black advocate to the point where it's like,
it's too much. Bro, let me,
but I definitely get your perspective from it. I definitely understand it.
Listening to you, what you're saying, I understand where you're coming from. You're looking at it from a perspective that you do not wanna
Continue to live in that place.
carry
Right.
that.
It's enough that I'm already going into. You know what I'm saying?
No. That's one way to look at it. And I get that standpoint that you looking at it like, oh yeah, I don't wanna relive or live slavery because it's over with. But here's the problem. It's not over with.
I'm not saying it's over with.
But check this also. If we were to say you acknowledge the fact that you're mindful, that when you're around, you know, elderly, you are mindful of it because they actually live that. But think about it. How about when it affects us directly? See, a lot of times people, we as human beings, it's a thing called other side, other mind, right? When you are in a situation like right now, we're in this house and it's peaceful in the studio. It's quiet. So we don't appreciate the peace that we're afforded because we get so used to it. But think about those people in the Middle East that day and night, bomb right there, they don't know when their day is coming. And now they would give anything just to get a little piece of what we take for granted. I look at it like, okay, it's the same thing, just in a different setting, that now we are in a position to where we're no longer on the cotton fields, we're no longer getting whipped, but in a researching, and I know it myself without even researching that, now slavery is more subliminal, but it's a different form now. They're not gonna come out because black people are the more dominant race in terms of numbers. So they're not gonna come out and say, hey nigga, whip you with chain and do all the stuff that they used to do back in the day, because that would be a problem.
But they're gonna make
So
other
now they're attacking from a different standpoint. We can't come out blatantly and do this to them now. So what we're gonna do is do it subliminal.
Like psychological warfare.
Like example. Tell me how this rubs you when you see a situation like Trayvon Martin and Zimmerman. How he walked out of that and he created so many problems after that and still faced no repercussions. And then in your mind, what's the first thing that we see? It's because he's white.
Exactly.
If it was a black man, they would have been no doubt dead by now.
Yeah.
So think about the rage that you feel when you think about that situation.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that people that actually live slavery and immediate racism, they feel when they hear a black person call another black person nigger, because they associate that with the people that used to do it or that still do it. And when you go into other parts of the world, to know that right now, the slavery that we endured here in North America, some people in other parts of the world are going through it right now.
Yeah.
And when you think of, you put yourself in that standpoint. See, we don't feel it until it's at our doorstep. We don't acknowledge it until it's at our doorstep. Okay, it's not happening now. This is a thing of the past. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, that day were to face us presently. You see what I'm saying? If we just woke up one day and we're just slaves, like back in the way back in the day, and you think about people that went through hell and lost their lives just so that we can be able to vote, just so we can be able to walk down the street without having to, worry about being hung.
So your stance on it is we shouldn't be saying nigga because of
I just like a person would accept a word like you would. Females, I feel the same way about females that call themselves the B word. I feel the same way about it, but a lot of females, they'll be like, yo, I'm the baddest B and this. And then,
I don't say that, by the way.
But think about it like this. It's like, okay, do you know what that word means?
Yeah.
Like, you can't take.
I get it because I am a strong believer too, and understand like the words have power, and sometimes like, what does nigga mean? Yeah. You know you want to stand on it because like the GA, because the ER makes it different. The ER makes it different, but I feel like we took it and we made. But I get it, like that's why I say I get it. Like I don't want anybody to think that I don't get it at all because I respect it 100%. Get it 100%. But then it's almost like too like the ER word. Hey now, but the GA it's like we just took it. We like and then I love it like. They're like with me, like, but I think it's my personality. Like with me, I say thugging a lot or disrespectful, but I don't use it how everyone uses it. Like when I say like I'm thugging today, like it's not like I'm out here, running these streets. It's like I'm out here doing what I'm doing. Or like that's disrespectful. I'm saying it in a good way, like that looks good. Like you disrespected them. Okay, get disrespect. But it's like I always take a negative word, but it's a mind. Right, but I get it, but not also because I am a believer in your words. So then it's like, what's the definition of GA? So I can know because if it has a bad definition, I won't say it. But I know that we took it and we just made it like a friend word. Like, and I have to catch myself sometimes. Like I have to ask Jeremy, is it offensive? Because some people like even other cultures like I don't want to hear you say I kind of feel uncomfortable. Yeah, it does make me uncomfortable, but it's like I'm saying it as a term of endearment. It's almost like sometimes you just take something like. And I'm gonna be optimistic about it. I'm not gonna bring it with the negative. I'm not gonna think about it. And sometimes our culture, we do that because we've been oppressed so long. It's almost like we're like the hurt people. Like I'm hurt, and it's not that we're not, but it's almost like I'm not gonna let this stop me from moving forward. Though, exactly. like you said, we went through it in the past, but I got enough I'm looking at already ahead of me. Like I already see it daily, so it's not dismissing. And I thank God for my ancestors and the people who fought, because I honestly believe that I was born when I was born because I couldn't take that. I believe that 100%. Me too. But at the same time, I don't want to take it with me. I'm going to enough. I'm carrying on enough as it is because we still have so much more to face and to deal with. And you have to excuse me if I'm not going to let this weight pull me down. Like I'm not going to let this word have an effect on my life that everybody else wants it to. You said this word to me to break me down, and I'm saying it to my homegirl because they don't mean that to me. Sorry, it ain't work.
And I get that, but in the same sense, like. I don't know, maybe I'm being devil's advocate. So, and I'm in word user, like I do use the word with my friends and my family and stuff like that. But when we say it doesn't mean anything to us anymore, it does, because can't no white person walk through this door and call us niggas. What does it do? Nothing to me. I promise you. No. It won't do nothing to me at work. A white person call you a nigga, what is it? It depends. I know, like, but I've gotten to a point, like, in my life where I refuse because your intention is to hurt me. Yeah. Your intention, when you come to me, you call me, your intention, like, even when I see videos still to this day and people getting knocked out for calling, your intention was you want to get a rise out of me. And before I let you, and I've done that time and time again. Not just with the word, but with people. Your intention is to come to stir me up. Your intention is to cause some havoc. So I'm going to intentionally ignore you. Because now what I'm doing is your energy, I just let you control me.
I've allowed you, I've allowed you to now control me. Let me be more powerful, show you how powerful I really am, and boss up. And oh, you call me a nigga? Oh, that's back in the 60s. We 2020, dog. They were supposed to affect me. Now on a good day, it probably would get enough of those. It probably, but what I'm really working towards is I'm not going to let that. Like I said, I got enough to look forward to. Like, and it's not all good. So it's like your intention when you do certain things and say certain things, and your intention was to
break you down.
yeah, and I'm not going to allow you to do that. So I'm going to ignore you because when you saying all these racial slurs and you going off in the mouth, you know that you're saying that to get a rise out of me. When you see those videos, a lot of times you see those videos going viral, the other race is not doing anything. They're pushing them. They're like, behind, you nigger, you this, that, and the other. You're trying to get something out of me. Like, man, this is beyond me now.
No.
I'm sorry, this is beyond me. Because you wanna take me there, and a lot of times we put ourselves in situations to where, like, you know, you look back and you're like, I really just gave them that power. I gave them the power, like that's what they want, and they walk away feeling good. Even if you punch them, you see somebody get knocked out there, but they get up like, yeah, I'm still in the league. I still know what to do. Yeah, I'm still able to get under your skin after all these years. That N-word still make y'all feel the way.
But look at both sides though. Like
I see both sides.
I could understand like both y'all, like all three like sides, because like one side, like Krisha, it's like you're saying positive about the entire situation. There's no malicious intent. Like you know the past, like you understand it, you grasped it. That's why you're respectful to the elders, right? So like because you know there's no malicious intent, you say it in a word like as in like, okay, you accepted history. This is part of history. You can't let that go. Because that was like really like an intense part of history and still effective till today, right? But the reason why it's still effective today, and this is getting onto his side, is because as one keeps it alive through positive intent, it keeps it relevant to where even the negative intent now keeps it there. Exactly.
Yeah,
so it's just like, even though like, and like how he says like, obviously nobody can break it down, like Rome wasn't built in a day. But if it wasn't being used at all, like we could accept history, but not always talk about it. Have you ever had like an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend like talk about the same situation y'all got over already? But keeps bringing it back up during a situation to justify something? Like, you know what I mean? Like jealousy, oh, you did this before. We've talked about it, we agreed not to bring it up, but we talking about it right now.
Right.
Like, you've ever got pissed off about that? Or, for example, like, and I can say it on the side too, on the whole, like, keeping it there. It's more like, I'm not gonna
I get what you said.
I totally
okay. Accepting it wise, it's sort of like, have you ever seen, like, for example, human trafficking? Remember how we talked about that before? And, like, the woman, it was something called Stockholm Syndrome. That means, like, you start to fall in love with your kidnapper.
Right.
Well, it's sort of like you're accepting it. Now, like, just imagine on a mass scale now, like, everybody accepting, like, human trafficking. Does that make it right? No, it doesn't make it right. So if you're, like, thinking the same way with, like, racism, like, or using the N-word or keeping something negative around as a positive, now you kind of switched into a positive, but it's like, should we like accept it in that situation?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. I'm trying to like. Go ahead. You go ahead.
I just wanted to say this because we always talk about change, and one way to change is to get out of the norm, get out of what we're used to. And again, you know, you've opened a platform that I didn't really dive into it that deep to say, okay, well, because listening to you, I'm like, okay, that makes so much sense that you would kind of want to reverse that energy. You know what I'm saying? To where it no longer affects me. But like Jeremy really boiled it down and really defined it that by doing that, we're keeping it alive. If at the end of the day, that word is no longer used, if I said, okay, change starts with me, and I'm only one person. Sometimes I feel like a million people doing it. What the heck, me changing myself gonna do?
Right.
But at the end of the day, change starts with just one person, one little thing. Because somebody made a comment. This was just back in January. Martin Luther King had some posters that saying these promoters wilding out because they put Martin Luther King. And they had him in like some hoodie and different things like that. It's like it's disrespectful, right? So I made a comment. Somebody made a comment and say, well, he's not Jesus and this, that, the other. I say, yes, but he was a freedom fighter and he deserves respect, right? So then the other person came on the comment and said, well, he wasn't a freedom fighter. He just fought for equality.
Can I ask a question? That's right. What was wrong with the goals and the hoodie being on?
Okay, see.
Because it's what it's associated with.
Yeah,
you feel like it's negative. What makes it negative?
But think about it like this: the image and what he represented was not that. Do you know the chain that goes around your neck, the jewelry that we wear? A lot of people don't know the meaning of it.
True.
So a lot of times we use things, and until we know where it comes from, we'll be like, I'm not wearing that. But before you know, you're not held accountable.
Right.
But once you know that these chains that we wear around our neck represents the very bondage that we've been in. But see, because we're negligent of so many different things, we become accepting of it. That's why when the elderly, they have that knowledge and they can sit down and tell you that, hey, this is what this means and this is what this means, and it gives you a whole different perspective. So the more you know, the more you're held responsible for. So for a person like me that probably know a little bit more about what those represent, then I'm like, that's not what he stood for. You know. Go ahead.
It goes back to, I guess, how I look at it is like certain things like the choker I couldn't get with. Like, the choker is like, people didn't know, like, this is where it originated from, slavery, when they had the things around their neck. So I couldn't really get with that. But then certain things, what I love about our people and what I've noticed that we do is a lot of stuff that we do, it's like chitlins. Like I was saying this the other day, when even in church, I was telling them, like, them booty noodles y'all love was really, I don't eat them. But that is a black dish that everybody loves, but it originated because it was slop given to us.
Yes.
Again, who you hear standing up? Don't eat them chitlins because that was black. And no, you do mixing them chitlins good every Thanksgiving. What we have done was we took so much stuff that was given to us to break us down, and we made that thing look good. So even though, it's the modern day, all that stuff, but excuse me, that same stuff that y'all saying is associated with it, and it's not saying, please hear me good, like this is the black power coming out. But almost every culture loves us because we've taken the oppression and we made it great. We've made everything that we were never supposed to be who we are today. We were never supposed to be positive. We were never supposed to love ourselves. We were never supposed to feel away. But everything you gave to me, I took it and I made it great. Everything that you said I couldn't do, I took it and I made it great. Everything that you said, you look this way, you dirt. I take my natural hair and I wear my fro. I make it look good. Now you see girls around here, I wear my cornrows because I couldn't do nothing to my hair back in the slavery days. Now my designs look good, and now you see the next white, Asian, all these people in America because of our culture. So like that's how I think. Because I can't keep taking all this negative. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not giving you what you wanted. I'm giving you what you want. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that because you gave me all these things to make me feel bad. Excuse me, my chitlins taste good. They don't even taste like pig intestines. They taste like a gourmet dish around here. Booty noodles. So you know what I'm saying? So sometimes I feel like I'm gonna take that negative that you want so bad to break me down, and I'm gonna sit to the top and like, look what you made me do. So you wanted so bad for this to break me, but I took these rocks and built my house with it. I took these bricks you threw at me, these stones, and now look at my mansion. You wanted to break me, but I'm sorry, my innovative spirit that my ancestors gave me when we didn't have nothing, I'm not rocking with it. You threw me all your trash, you threw me all your junk, and I took it and I built something from it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that word that you gave me, nigga, now what's up, my nigga? You know what I'm saying? Like, you will no longer break me in that way, but I told, don't please, not that's how I want everybody to hear it. I totally get it. I respect it 100%. But it's almost like you gave me all this to break me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Jay, who you are right now, you a black Afro-Jamaican. It's like, who's Jay? But he here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you still stand, you still have all these thoughts. But what everybody did, they came before you, that made you feel, when those police officers came and dumped your luggage out, that was to break you. You know what I'm saying? That was to make you feel like you were supposed to be around here slapping every white person after that. You know what I'm saying? You always sit at the table with Jeremy, being able to laugh with him. You supposed to be looking him in his face, not liking him. But you took that and you built from that. You grew from that. You sharing a story that's showing, here go a man full of power, but that ain't breaking. You came to break me, but it's like, so it's not that I dismiss it, but it's almost like I refuse to allow you to, your tactics. Like every book that was wrote, you read Jim Crow and all these other books, how to break down a black person, how to make them be oppressed. They literally wrote strategies down because we don't want them to be anything. Right. Well, excuse me, every strategy you try to get, it didn't work, buddy. So basically, I just believe that everything that was thrown against us, if we take it and make it positive, that's basically the sum of everything. If I take every negative thing that you thought was meant to break me, and I build up from it, it really can affect me, you know? But not dismissing the other side, because I totally get it. I totally get it. If you didn't hear anything else, please hear that I get the other side. But I'm just choosing to take what was meant to break me and make me into somebody better.
I would say for me, I came in, and again, I understand both sides, and I accept both sides, but I came into this more leaning toward one side than the other, even though I've got the concept of both. But you really shed more light on something that I already understood. So now I'm like in the dead center of it. I'm not one way or the other. I can see both sides, but I'm like straight down the middle with it. But yeah, you definitely brought some perspective to me. Yes, I appreciate that.
It's real. I mean, I feel like that's why we have this show. Like that's what it's for. It's for everybody to just, just give people a different way of looking at things and just, just use it as a learning tool.
And I also appreciate you, Dom, sharing your personal stories, because it hit home for me. I haven't experienced it, but just hearing you say those things, like, wow.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta thank you on your passion too. You're about,
For real. It's serious. It gets real.
Nah. And that's what I admire that about you, your confidence. And you definitely, your point of view did hit home.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Exactly. So when you mix everything together, moral of the story from Jeremy is that not every white person is a racist cowboy. Not every Caucasian, not every African American is ratchet or a thug, goes out there sagging pants, all about rap music. It's not all about that. Not every person is a kung fu artist, that's a mathematician. I mean, that's what and not every Hispanic person knows how to make Hispanic foods, flipping burritos, nothing like that, or is a construction worker or anything like that. So, adding all that in, Black is beautiful. Asians are awesome. White people are awesome. Everything. We work as a community, as one race, human race, to bring together positivity. So at the end of that note, Black are very sweet. but again, we'd love to hear from you. This is just part one of racism, colorism. Email us at candidlyspeaking podcast at gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. Give us any of your feedback on this episode, as well as any topics that you'd like us to discuss and pretty much get our perspective on. So on that note, thank you again for tuning in to
Candidly Speaking.
Hey guys, thank you for joining me on Candidly Speaking Modeling Tips. My name is Carissa. You guys can go ahead and follow my IG handle at everythingivory. Today we're going to go ahead and go over some tips as far as what you should have, what you should consider when you're becoming a model or becoming an aspiring model. Some of the things that I learned off of the bat just from jumping in when modeling was networking. I did not get into modeling through an agency. I didn't get into modeling through a professional industry, I guess you could say. I met someone through my best friend. One of the best things you can have is an outgoing personality. If you're more introverted, try and get to know others that are outgoing and can help you get a foot into knowing other people. I met with photographers as well as other artists in the industry, so I surrounded myself with musicians, artists that create on canvas, oil, water paint, all kinds of artists in music, just people that are really pursuing their passions and their dreams. You want to surround yourself, especially, even though it may not seem as important, one of the best tips I can offer you is having a great support system. Have people that are constantly giving you criticism or offering you advice on how you can better your work and have a unique brand. We have social media now where that gives you a lot of outlets and opportunities to put yourself out there in a way that is different, in a way that's more unique, in a way that says this is who you are. When you see my page, it's like a online portfolio. Believe it or not, you can use your Instagram or your Facebook pages for professional use. So again, my handle is @everythingivory. I have that specific name. When people hear it, it's my own aesthetic, it's my brand. They know that it's connected to me as a person and the art that I express. Make sure that you're constantly surrounding yourself with different types of artists. Again, as I mentioned before, you want to surround yourself with other models, other musicians, other creators. You get to be able to pull from other people. So another modeling tip I have for you is to pull from other people's work to create your own work. Don't get stuck in just one genre or one type of shooting. Get into different types. Do swimwear, do glamour shots, do high fashion, do couture, do all kinds of styles that can open up and show you as a different type of artist, as someone that has variety. You want to have a chameleon personality, be able to adapt. Your professionalism is a big part as far as having a modeling tip. I would say your punctuality and making sure that you are always prepared. Go that extra step. If they say bring this to the photo shoot, bring that prop, bring for swimwear, bring a cover up. Think outside of the box. Don't just limit yourself, because it's your art and you're allowed to do whatever you want to do with that art and show others the same. Now, there are cons to the modeling industry. I myself have only been modeling for about 3 to 4 years, but I do often get told you are too short. I'm 5'3". You are too big. I'm not as slim. You get all kinds of people, but nowadays we're in a time where there's different forms of beauty and different opinions of what beauty is, and that's something that I'm very lucky and feel that other artists have the opportunity to explore as well. Don't be scared to look or be different, because that's something that is very popular and is very good to portray. So these are just some of my modeling tips that I can offer you guys. Alright, you guys, so that's the end of those tips that I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Candidly Speaking Modeling Tips. If you have any questions or want to contact us further, go ahead and contact us at candidlyspeakingpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you would like to speak with me directly, you can contact me at carissahanif@gmail.com or at my Instagram handle @everythingivory. Thank you guys so much, and see us next time.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn